Alright guys, welcome back to another Master Apprentice Star Wars with a Daddy stream. Yeah, how we doing, Ethan?
Doing pretty good. How about you?
Okay. Anything new? Any new updates?
Nothing really. Playing Star Wars Galaxy Heroes, the mobile game, and finally got something I should have had a long time ago, a Galactic Legend, up and moderately running. So, it's me being bad at the game, but finally catching that up, but nothing really else other than that.
Yep, so there's not a whole lot to talk about, but there are some things. We've made a video already, and we're gonna put it out tomorrow. But obviously, like the big talk of Star Wars recently is the cancellation of Acolyte. It's kind of hard to really find some candid, grounded, just views on it, because anytime you go to X or Instagram, people are just arguing of who liked it, why they liked it, what was better, what was not. Any way you look at it, the show did not produce views and numbers. It just didn't. The quality, it's art, right? It's up for viewer discretion. You decide what you want and what you like. But the overall crowd did not like it. That the ratings show that, right? To say if you liked it, that doesn't mean you're invalid or your opinion is invalid. But the overall opinion of the show, of this piece of art, was that it wasn't good. So all those things being said, it just did not produce what it was supposed to, and we finally got Disney to finally come out of its hiding shell and finally take some action, and they canceled it. Now, at first it was just, okay, they're canceling it, that means no season 2, right? But then speculation kind of started in the last 24, 48 hours. I saw someone say Willow. Willow was this kind of it's supposed to be like Star Wars, but it's kind of its own thing. And it was a Disney Plus original. And it came out almost 2 years ago, I think now. It was one of the first things that Disney Plus put out, after The Mandalorian and Loki. It was one of the newer projects at the time. And it was an original. It was not heard of any IP. And it was this big thing, promoted huge, actually. And it did terrible. And they canceled season 2 immediately. But following the canceling of season 2 for the Willow production, they also took it off Disney Plus. You can't watch it on Disney Plus. So people started to wonder, are they going to do that with the Acolyte? And I mean, at first, people were like, no, that doesn't seem right. I mean, it's Star Wars, right? Of course they're going to leave it on. There's part of the Star Wars universe. But you can't buy Acolyte merch from the Disney website anymore. Go to Disney Plus or Disney website, Disney merch. If you look up the Acolyte, it's just not there. So, and it doesn't seem like it's too far-fetched, too far out of the picture. I don't really have too much of an opinion on it, because honestly, the way I view it is, I didn't enjoy this show enough to watch it more than once. Maybe I'll watch it again one day in the future with my kids when I watch through all the Star Wars products. But that's the only time I really see myself watching through it, right? So other than that, I don't really care about where it is now, if it's on Disney Plus or not, because obviously people don't care about it. It's not something that's rewatchable if people didn't like it to begin with. So all those things being said, it is an interesting conversation to be had, and I wonder how it will be handled in the days to come. Andor really didn't have a great reception when it came out. Not a lot of people watched it, but it did have a lot of views. It got some accolades even. So with that, another season of that around the corner, it's going to be very interesting to see how that pans out. Skeleton Crew has not gotten much reception in general. It's not bad reception, but it hasn't gotten any reception after the trailer from D23. People I don't think people even know about it. So, I mean, Disney's already canceled one show. I'm very interested to see how these next 2 shows that don't really have any hype following Acolyte, how they're going to be handled, and how fans are going to take them.
Yeah, I mean, them completely removing everything from their stores is just something we haven't seen in Star Wars, at least before. I mean, the sequels were not received well at all, but this is a whole another level on top of that. Like, it's significantly worse than that was. So this is definitely a interesting choice by them to remove it, to remove Willow. And I mean, it would be crazy if they do end up removing Acolyte because it's still Star Wars at this point. I mean, there's no real talk by Disney officially of decanonization, but that's what it would feel like if they removed it from Disney Plus, where they have all the Star Wars content. Regardless of whether, it doesn't even really matter at this point because it doesn't have any characters that are affected hardly from it. But
shows that aren't canon, like the original Clone Wars, Star Wars Visions, some like the original Christmas specials, things like that aren't canon. Some of them are more obvious than others. They still have on Disney Plus, so it would be really weird if they took Acolyte off. Like, pretty much if they took Acolyte off, it'd be like they're trying to scrub the stain that is Acolyte. You don't want people to know about it. It was a failure altogether. So if that's the kind of action they take, I don't want to say it's good, but at the same time I do. Not because I don't think Acolyte is like that terrible. They're trying to like, no one should be able to watch it. And I'm saying if they're really trying to get rid of it, it's because they really are trying to turn a page. Like, wow, people did not like that. We don't want people to even remember that. We want to move on to the next big thing. Just get rid of it. Yeah. And it would be like a move that's like indicating that Disney's really trying to turn a page, like they did with Marvel, right? So that's the good that would come out of it. But that's really the only good that would come out of it for me.
It was an expensive project, so if they do end up releasing it from Disney Plus, that's $180 million almost down the drain, which would just be a crazy move for them. But hey, I mean, they're definitely taking feedback by canceling season 1 and now removing merch from their store. Like, I don't know where this is going to go exactly for Acolyte, but they've already taken steps in the right direction from fan reception. Like, they finally are listening to us.
And following that, the next big Star Wars project that's set to come out is Star Wars Outlaws, and it doesn't have any hype. I don't feel like that's to not be expected, because when Jedi Survivor was coming out, or not Survivor, Fallen Order, I don't really remember people being that hyped for it. I mean, I remember I saw a couple of trailers, but like I remember people being hyped for Battlefront 2 when that came out, because there was something grounded about it. People knew kind of what to expect. It was a multiplayer Star Wars game with a semi-story, but mostly the multiplayer and the online multiplayer. And so when they're going to introduce a new story, people aren't seem interested because they know what Disney has put out for stories for Star Wars recently. And so I think Outlaws is going to get the same treatment. And the only way Outlaws is going to do good is if it's like Fallen Order, if it's just plain out good and intriguing. That's going to be very big and interesting. Speaking of Outlaws, we were originally going to stream it. I don't think we're going to stream it. We're definitely going to play and review it. But we've started up a Halo channel, and it's about to be dropped. We're just finishing up the first video or two because we want to have some videos, and then we're going to start streaming all the Halo games in chronological order. So we can't do both at the same time. I mean, we both have full-time jobs and families, right? We really only can do one at a time. So we're probably only going to stream the Halo game. But if it turns out that game's super banger, then we'll probably start streaming it. But I'll definitely be playing it on the side. I want to give you guys that review. I don't know if I'm going to buy the DLCs. I absolutely can't stand when they want to put something like Jabba the Hutt, something that's iconic and that's going to draw fans to it, put it behind a paywall. Like, no one's fooled by that. We know what you're doing. We know you're putting the most iconic part of Star Wars behind a paywall because you know people want that part. Well, unfortunately, you business gurus, people aren't going to buy your game if they know that's the only part they're interested in. People aren't going to spend $100 on it. No one's that interested in Star Wars, right? Some people will, but majority won't. And I just think it's already kind of stepped a foot on the wrong side of the line so far. I don't think it's over for Outlaws because it hasn't even come out yet, but man, Star Wars has had a rough year to say the least. I mean, if you look at it, I think the only shine is the Bad Batch. But I mean, when does Star Wars animation not hit?
Yeah.
I say that, but then they also had Tales of the Empire, and that wasn't good. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how the rest of 2024 plays out and how the start of 2025 plays out. I mean, Lucasfilm's got a lot of ground to cover, to say the least.
Yeah, there's a lot, and I mean, I have high hopes for all these projects. I hope Skeleton Crew comes out and is an absolute amazing show. I hope this Outlaws game is great and just as intriguing to play as the Fallen Order game. But I don't know. It's definitely not off to the best foot with Acolyte coming right in front of it.
And kind of one of the last things is it's been like I want to say ritual, a tradition after a show has come out on Disney Plus, like a Star Wars show. Me and my wife will go back and watch it after it's been a year. We did it for Boba Fett, Mandalorian. I didn't do it with Andor. What else has come out? I don't know. Anyways, Ahsoka, it's just now a year. So all that being said, I'm going to be going through and watching that again. I really don't look back at Ahsoka with anything bad. I think the only thing is like it was disappointing. It felt like the finale was like, dang it, man. I was hoping we'd get a little bit more of a final stamp, but it was very, very open-ended. And that's not bad, but it's just like, the rest of the show is actually pretty good in my eyes. There wasn't a lot of bad parts about this show. And I think the only bad part is like they left it open-ended. But that's a show's right. A lot of shows do this. You can't really knock it down for that. It's just, you never know.
Yeah, the whole show, I mean, there was like some minor things. We watch it one episode a week when it comes out, so I was probably dogging on it for some minor things that are messed up, but I don't even remember them, it being a year ago. So those minor things that I'm probably like, oh, this was goofy. It's Star Wars. It's going to be. And Sammy's right. It was like a whole season leading up to what felt like a final scene, and the final scene was not a fight scene like it almost felt like.
It felt like a whole season getting ready for like Ahsoka essentially what's it called? Not transitioning, transcending. Like she's finally maturing. I mean, she's already matured a lot, but she's finally starting to have some hope again. And like we got that arc complete, but then we had like the Thrawn. I was like, okay, the big bad's finally arrived. He's here, and this is it. And now he's in the galaxy, but the main character's not, and that's it. I was like, what? What's happening? You could have done anything else. Like, yes, he's in the galaxy, but now you're gonna have a year or two or maybe even 3 years until the next Ahsoka season, and we're supposed to like still be excited for that in the meantime. You know what I mean? Like the difference between Mandalorian season 1 and 2 wasn't that high of a difference, and it felt pretty conclusive at the end until you watched the final credit where Moff Gideon's alive. You're like, oh. Okay, Mandalorian season 2 can still have some hype. All right, let's go. And then season 2 happened, and season 2 felt relatively conclusive, but still open-ended. You're like, wow, that was really emotional. Grogu is now with Luke, but what is Mando going to do, right?
Yeah.
And what is Grogu and Luke going to do? Like, it still felt conclusive, but left questions. This just, like, it didn't really feel conclusive. It felt really open-ended. And that felt like kind of took some of the air out of the room for that show, unfortunately. But that show wasn't bad. I think that's like an all ball out for live action shows. Especially, I'm kind of excited to watch it now. It's so tough trying to review and have interest in a show when you watch episode week by week by week. Like, so much happens in a week. And we're just, we especially in American culture, we get distracted by just so much in general. So, like, by the time a week's gone by, the next episode, it's like I've lost a lot of hype, interest in that little time. And so like I've got to kind of get back into the groove of it, and just it's so hard. But whereas you kind of binge it, it's so much easier to enjoy and appreciate a show.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm excited to watch it through all the way with all of it presented at one time. I think I should enjoy it more, right? I didn't enjoy Boba Fett. Kenobi was the other one, sorry. I didn't enjoy Boba Fett the first time I watched it, but I can appreciate a little bit more the second time I watched it. I still think it's probably the worst live-action show. Kenobi, same thing. I didn't really enjoy it the first time I watched it. The second time I watched it, I appreciated it a lot more.
Yeah.
Right. I have a lot less disdain for Kenobi the second time watching it through all the way than I did the first time watching it week by by week. Andor is the only one I have it, and that one is just I don't know why I have it. It's honestly because that one's kind of like the most boring to me, to be honest.
And it's long. Yeah.
And it's long, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're left with a little bit of that was a filler episode, and you're binging it, you just get to go right into the next one. That doesn't even feel bad, but waiting a week for it just sucks sometimes.
Yeah. Like when you get a filler episode in a week by week premiere, the episode that was a filler is like, it feels like it's like the worst episode. You're like, gosh dang it, I just feel like I wasted 30 minutes. But when you're already watching a show and you plan on watching the rest in 2 or 3 nights, it's like you have a lot more forgiveness for that filler episode. So I don't know. I'm excited to watch it through. And yeah, I don't have much else or anything else happening.
Nothing else from me.
All right. With that, we hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys are listening on podcast, don't forget to hit that follow and download. If you guys are listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. Like I said, we are going to be starting another channel. It's going to be mostly on Halo content, like the Halo from Xbox, but just shooters in general, like Gears of War, possibly Call of Duty. We're teenage boys who grew up in a culture where shooters and FPS games were big and played a big impact on our lives. We'd come home from school, and those are the games that we played in. Those are the things we talk about with our friends and spend our money on. And so it's just something we've grown up with, like Star Wars. And we thought we'd make a channel, mostly on Halo, like I said, but other stuff too if you're interested. But we're going to be starting that in the next week or two with some videos and streams upcoming. So once that's out, look out for the announcement for that. And with that, we'll be back here again next week, Thursday, 6 p.m. Don't miss it. Don't forget it. And we'll see you guys then.
Peace.